Yes guys, it's your boy Godwin. How are we all doing? Welcome to a video that isn't actually a rebuild for once or anything quite frankly to do with FIFA. This is a video that you guys have requested me to do for quite some time. I've wanted to do it for a while now as well. I didn't do one last year, but I am doing one this time because I found a pocket of time to actually be able to do this. And if you read the title, you will know this is going to be my Premier League predictions. I think I've timed it pretty damn well considering the fact that Arsenal and Palace are starting the freaking Premier League off tonight. Come on, Palace. Now, just before we start this video, I want to clarify a couple of things. The first one being, I do not claim to know everything there is to know about football. I can't keep up with every transfer, team news, and managers, or anything like that. I can't keep up with it. So if I say something that is wrong in this video, or say something that pisses you off in this video, firstly, I apologize, and secondly, it is just my opinion. You don't need to listen to it. And secondly, I am not basing this off who I think is going to get into Europe. I am just basing this off who I think is going to finish where. So without further ado, let's get straight into this video. And as you can see, we have got the Premier League split into 6 different categories, starting with the relegation zone, bottom half, mid-table, Europa League and Europa Conference League qualifications, Champions League qualifications, and of course, the champions. And of course, we are going to start with the relegation zone. And in my opinion, the first team that is going to go in there is Bournemouth. Now, they have been promoted from the Championship last season to the Premier League this season. They've got a decent squad, but in my opinion, they just aren't strong enough to cope with the quality that they're going to be coming up against next season. And the same thing can be said about this next team, which is going to be Fulham. I think Fulham are also going to get sent down. I don't want to see either of these teams sent down, to be honest. They've worked their arses off to get into this position. However, like Bournemouth, I don't think Fulham have got the strength in their team to cope with the strength that they're going to be coming up against. I know Mitrovic had one of the best seasons of his career last season, but I think that he's not good enough for the Premier League. I think he's far too good for the Championship, but he's not good enough for the Premier League. I could be very wrong in saying that, and I hope I am, because I don't want to see either Fulham or Bournemouth go down, as I've just mentioned. However, like I've just said, I don't think they've got it in them to stay up. Now, this one's definitely going to ruffle some feathers. I was talking to a guy at work about this. He completely agrees with me, actually, on this. It hurts me to say this, because the guy in charge of this team is my absolute idol. I think that the third and last team to be relegated is going to be Everton. Now, let's look at it like this. Everton's team is absolute dog shit on paper. Richarlison has left. Whether you like him or hate him, whether you think he's good or whether you think he's bad, he's been a goddamn good servant for Everton. You've got the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin out on injury as well for a good amount of time. Your best 2 players at the minute are Gordon and Pickford, and quite frankly speaking, if it wasn't for Pickford, you'd have been relegated already. Fair enough, the guy put on some shocking performances, but he pulled off performances that saved your freaking status in the Premier League. On top of that, as much as I love the guy, I don't really think Frank Lampard's that good of a manager. He's a good manager, don't get me wrong, but he's got a hell of a job to do this season to keep Everton up. And it's mad to say that, because I can't imagine Everton actually being in the Championship. It's just a crazy thought. So we've sorted the bottom 3. We now move on to the bottom half, and we are going to start with one of 2 teams I would replace Everton with if I was to change my mind about Everton not going down. I would put Leeds United 17th place, and I will tell you why. They've got rid of Calvin Phillips. They have got rid of Rafinha, and obviously Calvin Phillips has definitely been an incredible player for Leeds United, and whilst Rafinha didn't exactly put in the best performances every single week, he had that element of just special talent, and he could pull something out of the bag just like that. Hence why Barcelona wanted him. And like I said, if I was to change my mind about Everton going down, Leeds would be one of 2 teams I'd actually put in their place. And that second team is Southampton. Now, don't get it twisted. Southampton have maintained a very respectable place in the Premier League for quite some time. But how does a team that loses 9-0 every couple of seasons still maintain their spot in the Premier League? It doesn't make sense. All jokes aside, though, they're going to have a serious challenge this season because, and quite frankly speaking, I think if they aren't careful, they could end up in that relegation zone themselves at some point. The next team in the bottom half is going to be Nottingham Forest. Now, this is one team I want to do well. I really really want Nottingham Forest to do well next season. I obviously aren't expecting them to do anything spectacular, but I really want them to survive the Premier League. It would be such a goddamn shame if the first time they've been back in the Premier League for God knows how many years, they get sent straight back down next season. But they've got a decent manager. They've brought in some pretty decent players as well. But the thing is, they brought in quite a lot of players, which does worry me just a little bit, because obviously there is that stigma around teams that have been promoted from the Championship to the Premier League. They bulk buy in players, and it just never ever ends well for them. But with that being said, I do think Forest have it in them to stay in the Premier League for at least next season. And next up, we have Brighton going into the bottom half. Now, I think they'll probably finish either 14th or 13th. They've got a half-decent squad and a very, very good manager as well. They're going to do pretty decent next season. They're going to maintain a respectable place in the Premier League. Maybe in the next 2 or 3 seasons, though, we could see them creep up that ladder. And the last team going into the bottom half of the table is Brentford. Now, last season, they didn't just survive. They pretty much thrived in the Premier League. They did finish 13th, and I'm hoping that this season, with the quality that they do have in this team, that they can do the same again. Obviously, they did lose Eriksen, which is a bit of a kick in the dip, because I thought Eriksen should have at least given them one more season, but that's just me. However, like I've just said, they do have the quality in the team to replicate what they did last season. I don't quite think they'll get to the mid-table point in the Premier League. However, if they did, I would be quite surprised. Moving on to the mid-table category, and we are going to start this off with Leicester City. That doesn't necessarily mean I think they're going to finish 12th. Oh yeah, by the way, this doesn't mean just because I put a team in first in that category doesn't mean I think they're going to finish any other position. I just think they're going to finish in that category. But like I said, I do think Leicester City are going to finish mid-table. Pretty respectable spot for them, considering the fact that they haven't really done all that much in the transfer window. And they've just lost Kasper Schmeichel, which in my opinion, that's a massive mistake. That guy is a tremendous keeper. I know he's old, but come on. And next up, we have Crystal Palace going into that mid-table category, and let me tell you something now, give them 2 or 3 seasons, the potential that is in that squad is ridiculous, and I'm telling you now, in a couple of seasons time, 2 or 3 seasons time, they're going to be creeping up this ladder. Next up, we've got Newcastle United. They're definitely safe from relegation. They've got a tremendous amount of money to work with, got a very, very good team at the minute. Combining that with a decent manager, they are more than safe mid-table. Next up, we have Wolverhampton Wanderers. I don't really have a reason for this. I just think they're going to finish smack bang mid-table. I just don't have a reason. I just think this is where they're going to finish, to be honest. And lastly, we are going to put Villa mid-table. Now, they've had a pretty decent transfer window. If I'm not mistaken, they bought Diego Carlos from Sevilla. They brought in Coutinho as well. That's decent business. On top of that, they've got a pretty decent squad too. I could be wrong in saying this, but I think to progress even further, Steven Gerrard is not the man to do it. I think they definitely will need a better manager in the long run. However, for now, he is definitely doing a fine job as Aston Villa's manager. I don't know whether Villa fans would agree with me on that, but for me personally, I think he's done alright, and I personally thought that he was very overrated as a Rangers manager, but he's come over to the Premier League. He's done alright, but we'll see what happens next season, I suppose. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the top 7 of this tier list. Now, instead of just putting them into categories and just leaving it at that, I'm going to tell you where I think each team in the top 7 is going to finish, and I'm going to start off with 7th place in the Premier League, and I think in 7th place, West Ham United are just going to fall short of 6th place. Now, their team, don't get me wrong, is very goddamn good at the minute. You've got the likes of Declan Rice, you've got the likes of Jared Bowen, you've got the likes of Skamaka, who's a recent transfer from Sassuolo, which is brilliant business. Moyes has done a superb job with West Ham, but I just don't think they've got it in them to reach the top 6 yet. Maybe next season, but definitely not this season to come. And in 6th place, I can't see United finishing any higher. I could definitely see them finishing lower than that, but I think that they've got too much quality in their team for that to happen. If they were going to finish any lower than 6th place, it would have been last season. But let's be honest, Ronaldo, oh my God, that guy saved our arse so much last season. I bet single-handedly he won them about 5 or 6 games at least. But that team has got so many problems. I think the best thing to happen to them this season is Pogba leaving. He was just the most overrated player I've ever seen in a Man United shirt. I'm hoping that Jadon Sancho this season can shine a little bit more, because last season he showed spells of what he could do, but we didn't see enough of it, and he is so goddamn talented. We saw it at Dortmund, we've seen glimpses of it in the United squad, and we need to see more in my opinion. Martial did have a pretty decent pre-season, so it's going to be interesting to see how he fits into the team. You guys are also trying your hardest to sign Frenkie de Jong as well. I don't know whether that deal's going to go through or not, but it is what it is. You've also acquired Eriksen, which in hindsight is a pretty decent signing. However, I don't really see the point in it when you've got a lot of attacking players in that squad. And another variable to take into account, Erik ten Hag. Now, that guy needs time with United. He is not going to do a miracle job in the first season. But the thing is, on paper, United's team should be freaking challenging for the Premier League. They should be challenging for everything. But they just don't play like a team. But with Ten Hag, if he has the time, things may actually change for you guys in a couple of seasons' time. But next season, if you're expecting to win a countless amount of trophies, you're deluded. And in 5th place, and this one is definitely going to sting me saying this. If you're my mates watching this, you will know what I'm about to say. If you're my viewers and you've watched my rebuild, you'll definitely know what I'm about to say right now. Chelsea this year are not going to finish in the top 4. They will fall short and they will finish 5th place because, quite frankly speaking, the team's all over the place. We have brought in Raheem Sterling, who is definitely one of the better transfers I have seen throughout this entire transfer window. I have seen better transfers, don't get me wrong, one of which I'm going to bring up later on in this video. However, Kalidou Koulibaly coming in is, I've got mixed feelings about it. We don't need players in the 30s coming into the squad at a late age. We need players for the future. Kalidou Koulibaly, whilst he is a very, very good defender, can't keep bringing in players nearing the end of where their physical capabilities don't match the needs of the team. Don't get me wrong, I trust Tuchel with what he's doing. He hasn't let us down at all so far. He's won us the Champions League. He's done very goddamn well so far, so I'm not going to question it. But it does worry me what he's doing. We also are in dire need of a goddamn striker. Lukaku, as far as I'm concerned, can fuck off for good. Twice he's been at Chelsea, twice he's been shit. That motherfucker can stay in Italy. On top of that as well, Timo Werner wants to leave, and that prick can piss off back to Leipzig for all I care. He hasn't exactly done that well since joining Chelsea, so he won't exactly be a loss, but we definitely do need a goal scorer. If we had a goal scorer, we'd actually do pretty well next season, but it's the fact that we're going to be relying mostly on our wingers for the goals is a scary freaking thought. We are not Manchester City. We cannot play like that. So moving swiftly on from Chelsea, because I could rant about them all freaking day, we move on to the top 4, and we have got Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool and Spurs left. Now, 4th place, I think Tottenham Hotspur are going to once again finish 4th. And quite frankly speaking, on top of that, I think they are definitely going to win something this season. I don't know what they're going to win, but I can't see Spurs, with the strength in their squad at the minute, not winning something. I know that there's that stigma that Spurs can't win trophies and they're all bottle job. Believe me, I say it in every freaking rebuild when they win something. However, Conte is a serial winner. We all know what he's capable of. I've witnessed it firsthand at Chelsea when he won us the Premier League in the first season. And he's brought in players he can actually work with. He's brought in Ivan Perisic, for example. He's brought in Bissouma, who in my opinion is actually a very, very overlooked transfer. That guy's going to have a very good season for Spurs, I can promise you that. On top of that, yeah, I've got Heung-min Son, Harry Kane and Kulusevski up top. I think Kulusevski's still on the team anyway, I could be wrong on that. All around the park, really, they've got strength in abundance. I would like to see them tweak the defence a little bit more. However, I do think they've got the strength in the team to win something this season and maintain their top 4 position that they got last season. And 3rd place, you guessed it, it is going to be Arsenal. Now, they have made, hands down in my opinion, their best transfer of this transfer window in Gabriel Jesus. That guy has not been able to stop scoring goals since he joined Arsenal. They've got a very good team now, and as a Chelsea fan, it's not often you get me complimenting Arsenal, let me tell you that. But you can't deny that they have got one of the youngest teams in the Premier League, and also, quite frankly speaking, one of the best. Saka, Martinelli, Emile Smith-Rowe, Odegaard, now Gabriel Jesus, not to mention the likes of Kieran Tierney, Zinchenko coming into the squad. You've got Aaron Ramsdale, you've got Tomiyasu, Ben White, Gabriel. All around that park, you have got quality. And the thing is, this season, I think it's your season to shine. I don't think you're going to quite reach the top 2, but missing out to Liverpool and Manchester City is not something to be ashamed of. Now, obviously, this is definitely the most difficult part of this video because they're both as good as each other. I know that they bloody played each other in the Community Shield and Liverpool slapped them, but pre-season doesn't mean shit, and we all know it. So out of Manchester City and Liverpool, I think the team that will finish 2nd place don't hate me, I think Liverpool are once again going to finish second, and Manchester City are once again gonna be the champions. Liverpool are better in Europe. Man City are better in the Premier League. It is just the way it is. Manchester City just somehow managed to pull it out the bag in the Premier League. Liverpool had so many opportunities to seal the deal last season, and they could have won it, and they just didn't, and one of which was against Spurs, who realistically speaking they should have beaten. Yes, it's true, Liverpool played pretty much every game there was to play last season, granted. However, that is not a thing that should be an issue, because the managers should be preparing for this. And quite frankly speaking, I don't want anybody bitching about the fact that they played every fucking game of the season. They are paid thousands to do so. I do not feel sympathy for them. But even though I have put Liverpool second place, that doesn't mean that they ain't going to be very goddamn close to that title. They are not going to let Manchester City run away with it. I don't exactly think Darwin Núñez is going to do as well as Erling Haaland either. Erling Haaland, for God's sake, don't sleep on him. He is absolutely insane. I'm not saying Darwin Núñez isn't, but I think when you compare the two, it's a bit unfair because Erling Haaland is just levels above Núñez. On top of that, you've got a serial winner in Pep Guardiola who knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly how to win the Premier League, probably by buying it, but that's a different story. And another opinion of mine, I actually think Jack Grealish this season is going to have an absolute blinder of a campaign. Just watch, remember me saying that. But yeah, I guess that's where we leave the tier list because it's completed. This is how I think the league's going to line up. Whether I'm right or wrong is a different story. I'll be surprised if any of the top 7 teams don't finish where they are, especially if they aren't in the top 7, because the top 7 are clear of everywhere else in this Premier League. And with that being said, that is the end of this video. If you did enjoy or agree with anything I said, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new around here, turn that notification bell so you never miss a video I upload. We are on the road to 5k, and we are agonizingly close at this point to reaching that goal. And also for the like goal, let's just hit 1 like. I'd be happy with 1 like for this. But that is all from me. It has been your boy Gordon. Hope you guys have an amazing afternoon. The football season finally begins tonight, and hopefully Palace do start it off with a win. Come on, Palace! And until next time, I'll see you later.